Do you talk about that with your friends? Like how do you know that?
Huh?
Ear scabs. Is that a topic of conversation?
People know. People just know that sometimes you have scabs in your ears, and when you pick it, it bleeds a little bit. That's not gross.
So
it's very normal.
No, it's not.
If I was like, oh, I got a scab on my knee and I picked it and it bled a little bit, why would that be any different than inside of my ear?
First of all, you shouldn't be picking it. It's gross. Second of all, you shouldn't be talking about it. It's gross.
Why?
Because I just gagged. It's
That's
gross.
your problem. That's a you problem.
Whether it's normal or not for people to pick at their scabs, it shouldn't be talked about because it's gross.
That's a you problem, is what I'm saying. Because this is very normal.
That's so gross.
I'm still wearing a hat.
You are.
Yeah. Because my hair hasn't cut itself yet.
And you won't let me cut it. Which I get.
You won't let me cut your hair.
Someday you're going to break down and let me do it. Yeah, but my hair...
You've cut my hair before, if we're being honest.
Have I?
Yeah.
I don't even remember that.
Yep, I do, and that's why. And that's why you won't be cutting my hair this time. Anyway,
it grows back so fast.
Yeah,
mine doesn't.
Yeah, but when it's cut that way, and so now would be a good time to practice, though, because
no one's seeing you unless you have a Zoom meeting.
I don't,
which we've been doing.
Yeah, I guess I do. There's a few different podcasts that we should recommend, I think, to people. Mm-hmm. And when I say a few, I mean two specifically.
Yeah.
The first one is the Sean Widmer podcast. That's my cousin, and he's taught me everything I know about podcasting. And that is kind of offensive to him because he's actually really good and I'm not. But he hasn't taught me much. But he has, well, you understand. So check out his podcast. It's very entertaining. And the other one is The Heart of Weddings.
Yes.
And if you're looking for wedding content, that would be the one to listen to.
Yeah, for sure. There are two wedding vendors in Seattle, in the Seattle area, and one's a wedding planner, the other's a photographer, and it's called The Heart of Weddings because that's really what they're aiming at. They want to just interview people and discuss everything wedding related. We in this industry kind of rely on each other, which is really cool, especially in this area. So if you're a wedding vendor, if you are getting married, if you are planning your wedding, all of the above, go listen to them. They're awesome.
Yeah. And you can find them both on Instagram or searching anywhere you get your podcasts. The Sean Widmer podcast and The Heart of Weddings. I had an idea.
Mm-hmm. I like your ideas most of the time.
Okay, thank you. You had a call the other day with a potential bride who was asking you, and you were answering questions, and we were talking about it afterwards, and we've known this, I suppose, but a lot of people ask the same questions. So my idea is, what if we answer the questions on a podcast? Yeah. And then we can say, just go listen to our podcast. No, I'm kidding.
We can be really rude and go.
But then at least it's out there and it's documented.
I think a few years ago, we started getting asked the same exact questions to where it made us go, is someone facilitating these questions? Like, is someone writing out these questions for the masses?
Well, it's funny you should mention that because I did a little Googling. Wow. And it turns out there are hundreds of blogs who have posted that. But this one was the first one on Google, and it says 36 important questions to ask your wedding photographer.
Do you think you could add videographer in there?
I think there'll be some things that are going to be the same and some things that will be different. But
did you read it, or are we just reading it?
No, of course not. I saw that title from brides.com and thought, that's got to be the one.
Love it.
So it could be not the one, but we'll find out together.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask a couple of these questions. Some of them, like availability. Is my wedding date available?
Sure,
I'm going to skip some of those ones because obviously. But some of the ones I think that are interesting that I would like to hear how you answer them, and then maybe it'll be useful for people. Yeah. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm not going to read every single one of these because a lot of them are like, How long have you been shooting weddings?
Okay.
And those are things that maybe when you initially talk to somebody that's going to come up. So I think there's a lot of them that maybe are going to be, but there's a few in here that I thought were kind of interesting. So the first one, and probably the one that we get asked the most, is how would you describe your style?
Mm-hmm. That to me is, and I would love to know like why people came up with that question. Only because if you are looking for a photographer or a videographer, you should be poring over their work. Like you should be really looking at what they do. And I feel like that gives you an indicator of their style, right?
Yeah. My answer to that question is typically, how would you describe my style? Because I would be curious to hear if they've watched my films or seen your photography, that they would go, oh, well, it seems like you're this or you're that. So that it's kind of a funny question because it does feel like
I could describe my style for people. You know, I feel like I want to document. So I'm a little bit more of a documentary.
Yeah.
Did I say that word right? Documentary? No.
Documentarian?
I don't know. Yeah, more
close enough.
I feel like I lean towards more photojournalistic, stuff. I like good contrast. I like amplifying what's there. I want there to be a feeling. So those are typically some things I say, but I think like the bummer and things that end up happening when people are searching for a photographer but not actually looking at the work or there's words that get thrown around: moody, light, bright, nary.
Light, bright, nary.
And if maybe a lot of photographers fall in either of those categories where they only lean towards one or the other. I find that for me, it depends on the wedding and it depends on the shoot.
Right.
Now, as far as extremes, I'm not going to shoot overexposed and I'm not going to shoot way underexposed. So,
which would be overexposed would be the light, bright, and airy feel.
Exactly.
And under would be the real moody look.
Right. So I'm not going to be either extreme. But you really do have to take into account each wedding, each, session. There's going to be other factors that weigh in on whether it's going to feel bright or it's going to feel more moody.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think if you're looking at wedding photographers or videographers, try to answer that question on your own, and maybe even say, okay, this is what I feel like I've seen from your work and what your style is. Would you agree with that? And have the conversation about style or what's important, because I think it's worth your time to have that conversation, but it's not necessarily like, just tell me what your style is and you say, oh, this is what it is. And you go, oh, okay, well, cool. Then let's move on to the next question.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think maybe a better question would be to ask yourself, what style or what work do I gravitate towards?
Yeah.
And then go from there, maybe.
Yeah. Do you shoot digitally, with film, or with both?
And I feel like that question could come up very naturally for people. I shoot all digitally right now. I could see myself adding some film elements to it because I really like it. But I don't think I would ever transition to all film. That's just my personal preference and the way that I shoot. Yeah.
I'm thinking about going to all film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 35 millimeter film. My packages will start at 100,000, of course, and we'll need a crew of 15 or 20 to get it done. But listen, you can't match film, can you? That's not really a question that I get asked very often. Sometimes people are curious about what camera we use or the specifics of it, 4K or whatever. But that's not something that we have to. A couple times. Yeah, we have to really worry about. Yeah, I think that one of the mistakes people might think is that if you are a film photographer, that means you're going to get a certain type of image, or if you're a digital photographer, you're going to get a certain type of image, because it's sort of, and it's not a perfect analogy, but it's sort of like asking what type of circular saw and drill that you use. Okay. Again, not a perfect analogy, but the craftsman is going to have a lot more to do with your images than the medium that they're shooting on.
That's a great,
And
I like that analogy.
You like that analogy?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So I think that what's more important would be to look at the work and to see it and not get too hung up on, oh, well, this is film, so it's clearly better. Or
Right.
this is digital, so it's definitely looks sharper or something
No
like
matter
that.
what you're using, film or digital, if you are accomplishing something that a client likes, like that's what you should be concerned about. It's like, I love your work, whether it's film or digital.
Correct. Yeah.
Whatever tools you're using, it's not as important.
Yeah. Yeah. How about packages? Like questions about packages. Do you, one of them they say is, can I customize my package to fit my needs?
Sure. I love to hear, because if not every wedding is the same. So, I just upon an initial inquiry, they may give me a description of what they're hoping for. And then that's when I can send them my packages. But if I need a little more information, I'll email back or message back or whatever and just say, I'd love to hear more, before I can really look at, okay, how am I going to accomplish what they are hoping for?
Yeah. Do you offer custom packages, or is yours mostly one size fits all?
Yeah, I have 2 packages. I just want to keep it really simple. As far as like if it's a prime wedding date, if it falls within the wedding season that we have, I just have 2 packages. But if it is, because I've shot really intimate weddings where they didn't need me all day. I've shot elopements where it's just been, a couple hours. So in those situations, I'll absolutely customize it to what they're hoping for. But as far as like main wedding dates,
there's a little bit of wiggle room. There's things that you can kind of get creative with. But I think if they understand, most vendors are going to be getting multiple inquiries for every single day or every single weekend through the summer, through the prime wedding season. And so it doesn't really, you can't really like, oh, sure, I'll customize it and knock this off.
Sure.
Because you most likely will have an inquiry that's willing to pay your full price the next week or something. So, so anyways, I think that's something to consider.
Yeah.
Okay. How about this one? Do you offer retouching, color adjustments, or other corrective services?
That's interesting. I edit all my photos. And what that means is I'm color correcting, or I am coloring. I don't know how you want to say that. Each photo that you see, I have edited, but I will not do any adjustments to, arms, body stuff,
as far as shape, changing the shape of someone.
I'm not going to Photoshop someone's appearance. That's just, honestly, it's kind of a fundamental, thing to me, or belief system. I don't know what you want to say, but, I really do believe we are created beautifully, and I don't want to be adjusting that and changing it to be something that you're not. Right.
So if they're looking for a photographer that's going to enhance and reshape and stuff like that,
and take off some pounds,
I think one of the things though is photography, especially video too, it's not always super fair. And if you can find unflattering poses and positions, is what I'm saying, right? So
you can find unflattering.
You can get a photo that's unflattering of you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you can get a photo that's not a great representation.
Yes.
So I think what's the answer to that, and people don't ask that a lot in video because obviously you can't do a lot of that.
Right.
But what is more is knowing how to pose and angle and shoot for different types of people, different body types, different heights,
Right.
And if you know how to do that on the front end, then you can avoid the need to do, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
you can make people, you can flatter them
Absolutely.
just by knowing what lens selection to use.
Yeah,
that's
for
a huge
sure.
thing of it. And so it's not as much of, oh, well, I'm going to do some retouching, but if I shoot it correctly, then I can give a really flattering image.
And pay attention to that.
Correct.
For sure.
Yeah.
Also, I would add to that, makeup is important in that, where, you know, I shoot a lot of weddings where brides don't usually wear makeup at all day to day, which is awesome. That's amazing. I do recommend to them to hire a professional makeup artist, because you are dressed in such a way that it's different from your daily look, you know, and makeup does not take away from who you are.
Yeah.
It amplifies, if it's done well by a professional, it amplifies what's there, and it allows your face and your dimension to really be,
there's a reason
it just adds dimension so that your face isn't flat when we're shooting.
So even if it's like, well, makeup isn't really my thing, that's great. But at least consider it, like you were saying, because for the photo and the video, it's going to have an effect.
Right. It is one of those important things you need to. And one of my makeup artist friends, when she has people come to her and they say, I'm really natural, I don't want it to be too crazy, she'll do their trials, but then she'll tell them, okay, now immediately go home and wash it off, because the way that you are dressed today, just doing your normal errands, and in like, this is not a good representation of what it's going to be like, because people can feel overwhelmed, like, oh wow, this is too much.
Yeah,
but on the day, you know, it really is important.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that helps, and then you're not having to do any facial retouching or anything like that.
Yeah, cool.
That was a long answer.
That was a long answer to that question. How about this one? How long after the wedding will we be receiving our images?
I usually say 8 to 12 weeks. It's a pretty good, you know.
It's a pretty big window.
Right. If it's in the spring, closer to 8. If it's in September or October, November, it's closer to 12. I edit all of my images. And I, you know.
And when you say you edit all of your images, what's as opposed to
outsourcing? Right. So I'm not sending off my photos for someone else to edit. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just a preference thing for me. So because of that, I'm editing all my photos, which probably it's going to be taking me longer.
That actually wasn't a question in here, is do you edit all of your photos?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get to it, but
that might be a good question.
That might be a question that would be worth asking, right?
Sure. Yeah. Because if you're looking at someone's work, you're hiring them, you want that work to be consistent to what they're going to provide for you. Otherwise, it's kind of like, what are we going to get? I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, people have figured out how to outsource and do it in a way that's consistent with their work. I just haven't felt like I've needed to do that. And it's a preference thing. I won't do it.
Yeah.
So the other aspect is when I cull and say I've got 5 photos that look really similar, but I like all 5 of them and I just can't. I have a really hard time narrowing down to one. For sure. You've made fun of me for it. I just can't help it.
Because you'll say, "Hey, which one of these do you like?" And I'll look at them. I go, "Oh, you mean the all 5 of the same exact images?"
They're not the same exact ones. They're different a little bit. But I do just err on, well, I'm just going to edit all 5 of them because I like them, and so I probably over deliver as far as how many photos I'm giving people, but that's just how I do it. I think
everybody in the wedding industry, photography and video wise, understands the pressure. Pressure is maybe the wrong word, but understands the feeling of like, oh, I got to get this finished. I got to get this finished. For sure. Because in the creative process, it is unlike something that you can just show up and do every single day, if that makes sense, like putting numbers into an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. I feel like that's the example everybody uses, and I don't know if anybody actually is doing that, but it requires. So what I'm trying to say is that even though it might seem like a really long time, like, wow, 8 weeks to finish, like it's an immense amount of work, and that you have to be in the right mindset to do.
Yeah.
To do well.
There are times where I can just get in a really great groove, and get a ton accomplished. And then there's a lot of times where I have to walk away and come back to it.
Right.
Your editing process is a lot different than mine. I feel like you have to be really creative on the back end, where in the editing, where I had to be really creative on the front end, shooting and locations and making sure my settings are right, all those things, to where I work harder to do that so that the editing gets to be a little more efficient for me.
Yeah.
I don't have to be super creative when it comes to the editing, because I already did that process. But it does, that makes sense. It takes a long time.
Well, and your style, you're not doing sky replacements and like big composites of 10 different images with flashes that are all put in there and stuff like that. So your style is led to shoot it right and good in camera, and then the editing is a lot simpler.
Yeah.
My point was we sort of made a decision that we are going to, even though I feel the pressure of like, God, I really want to get this done, and they're expecting it to be done soon, that I would rather that they have to wait a little longer and get something that I am like, that's it.
Yep.
And that's happened more than once, where I've gotten almost halfway through a film and gone, I don't like this.
Yeah.
And scrapped it and started over. And that's a huge time waste, or not waste, but a time suck.
Right.
But I would rather that their wait is a little longer so that the end product is something that I feel confident saying, this is done.
This is done. Because there is, and that's big time for you, because you're having to listen to all the audio. Like, even before you start editing, there's so much in that process, where you're having to re-listen and watch the whole wedding day in order to start to even envision what the film's going to be looking like. Like, there's just so much more time involved editing for you.
Yeah. I think you said it well, that there's a little bit more work on the front end for you, and a little bit more work for me on the back end of a wedding.
What's your turnaround?
I don't have a number. I don't tell people. I keep it a secret. No, I usually say in the neighborhood of 6 months.
Yep.
And I hope to beat it. And sometimes it's a little bit longer than that, but,
and I think maybe people understand this, but when this is our livelihood and we're shooting a lot of weddings, that's what plays into that. We're editing these weddings in chronological order.
Right.
And so, it's not that it literally takes the full 6 months to edit one film. Obviously, that's just taking into account other weddings, the other
work, and just the other work. Like, there's work that has to be done. Yeah,
exactly. Yep. So I think that's helpful for people to know.
So it's a good question. People should ask it.
And sorry, I just want to reiterate what you said, but I think it's so much better to take your time and do it well and do it right, because you're going to have this the rest of your life. So that, I love that you are so conscious of that. I think that's a really good thing.
Thank you. Okay. How about this one? Can we request a list of specific shots we would like?
Yeah, I get asked that, a few times. I always say yes, because, but it also depends.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think
yes, maybe.
I don't know. I would like to dig further. What kind of specific shots are you looking?
Right.
What are you thinking of? And if they're like, oh, well, I like this certain pose in this certain type of location, then it's like, okay, well, we need to dig into this a little bit more, because that's not necessary, because probably, or maybe that's not necessarily what I do. And if that's the case, I would never want them to hire me, because that's not, I wouldn't be able to make them happy. So Yes and no.
I think one that I've seen you get specifically was a wedding that was, I can't remember where it was, but I think it was in Spokane in a barn or something like that, like Green Bluff or something like that. And the image that they really liked was at a beach. And so you're trying to kind of determine, well, is it the pose? Is it the feeling? And it's oftentimes it's attached to a feeling. I just love the way this image feels.
Right.
And then it's trying to figure out, which can be really difficult, what is giving you that feeling? And is it the way that the light is shaped, or is it the beautiful ocean backdrop?
Right.
I mean, what is it about that image that is really speaking to you? And that can be hard for somebody who knows a lot about photography to explain. And certainly people who just, it's a feeling that I get. And so,
right.
Yeah. So what is your process in that?
Well, like I said, I just ask questions. I just really try to get at the heart of what they're wanting. I certainly don't mind a shot list. I'm not like, oh, well, I'm not going to work for you then, or I'm going to make sure I don't do the things that you're asking for. I don't typically get shot lists. It does, at least for me, I really want to document the day. I want to tell the story of the day.
Right.
And so a lot of times for me, I'm catching what's natural. I'm scanning the room and I'm seeing how I can capture it in the best way. I'm not necessarily going, oh, I need to get this perfectly posed, polished.
Right.
Shot. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think honestly, a couple of things that you can do is say, find an image that I've taken, if there's one that fits that style. Oh, I loved this one, because then you have a little bit more context to go off of.
Sure.
And then also, or give me a few different images that fit that. If it's like, I love this, and they can show you, well, here's 10 of them. You go, oh, well, it's because the couple in them always are like laughing, or they feel really, you know what I mean? So then you can have maybe a little bit more.
Yeah. I think it's a vague answer, but that's it, is just digging more.
Yeah.
What is it that you're wanting?
Yeah.
What and why? And then you can kind of go from there. But honestly, I think those questions are important ahead of time, because it's those types of questions that will really allow your client or potential client to know whether or not you're a good fit. If it's like, if they want something that is nowhere in my work, is something I don't usually do, it's just kind of doesn't fit what I do, then I'm going to want to help them be able to see that that's not, I'm probably not the best fit. Yeah. So, I guess it's just, you just dig and ask questions.
Have you ever shot at my venue?
Yeah. Obviously that's a yes or no answer. I feel like the concern behind that question is, if you have never shot at my venue before, are you going to be able to do a good job? Because obviously shooting at a venue multiple times, you have some familiarity, you know, kind of different locations, and you kind of have backups to figure out if weather's bad or something like that. But I think people don't really think about, when you shoot at a new venue, you have fresh eyes, there's something kind of exciting about that.
Yeah.
I don't think that hinders my work at all. Shooting at a new venue.
Yeah. I understand where the venues are coming from wanting to recommend people on their list, because they work with a lot of people. And so they have bad experiences, and people that don't either take care of their property or break the rules. And we hear about stories all the time. So it makes complete sense why they would. I just think that as a couple's, their job or their process of selecting vendors, specifically photo and video, I think they should take that into account. I don't think it should be the number one thing, because especially if the reason is, well, they'll know where to go to get photos. Right. Because we know shooting, that when we're in a brand new location, it can be some of the most exciting times where it's like, where do we get to go? How are we going to do this? This is going to be super exciting. Yeah. And so that can be an advantage. Creatively. Yep.
I think the bigger question is your photographer or videographer you're looking into, are they experienced enough to be able to shoot wherever they go?
Right. And that's a great question too, because it's not necessarily, oh, well, have you ever shot at this venue? And if the answer is, well, no, then it's even maybe, well, do you have maybe some examples, or even can you give me an example when you shot at a venue for the first time and let me see that wedding? And you can go, oh, wow, they killed it at this place they've never been to. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be a great follow-up. Or have you shot, at any wineries before that you maybe could show me?
Something similar. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Let's make this the last question, because I think we've gone on.
Yeah.
We've gone on long enough. I don't know if we did all 36 or not, but
feels like it.
Yeah. That is asking about, I read it and then I forgot it, so I'll just make it up in my own words, but it was in there. Just trust me. Can I see a full gallery? And in the day and age of Instagram, it makes me sound like I'm so old. In the day of Instagram, but so many people are you look through Instagram and it can be a great collage or portfolio.
Yep.
But why is that a question that you think you should ask? Or do you think it is?
I think it's a great question. Anytime people are inquiring, I even sometimes bring it up. Can I send you a full gallery so you can see what my clients get? I think that's really important, because you get to actually see the full product, because of what you said. Instagram is only giving you just a little taste, and people are putting forward their best stuff. And so while it's a great way to maybe be introduced to someone, you still need to dig deeper and figure out what they actually do, especially because I think it's a very interesting market, because really it feels like anybody can get a nice camera now and start shooting, and everyone has to start somewhere. So I think that's great. I think that's awesome. But as far as a client standpoint, there are a lot of horror stories from people not understanding the industry, not understanding weddings, maybe not having backups, or not, being able to troubleshoot when things go differently. There's so many factors that are beneficial to hiring someone with experience. And so, if someone's not willing to show you a full gallery, I would consider that a red flag.
And my guess is most people are willing. I'm sometimes surprised how few times people are asking to see. In my case, it's not a gallery, but to see my films are posted, but the full documentary or a whole complete wedding package. Like, what did this couple get? And see it all. And I just think that's an important thing. I could shoot a wedding. I could take pictures at a wedding, and I could come up with 5-10 photos that would be Instagram worthy. Okay. I'm just going to make that statement. But if you hired me to be your photographer at your wedding, you would be disappointed. Okay. Because I'm not a photographer, and I know, seeing what you do and how you do it, that you would not get, I could take photos at every wedding and put a collage together that would make it look like I'm a photographer. But if you looked at a gallery of how would do that. So I'm not saying that's what I just kind of trailed off and hope that you didn't follow up on that, because I just ran out of steam.
But everything
in that
you
sentence.
were saying was so great.
I know, but I was ready to move on to the next thought. Does that not ever happen to you, where you're thinking something and you're ready to move on?
Yes, but I feel
so
like
you just kind of just let it fall to the wayside.
With a podcast, you should probably finish the thought.
That's not a bad idea. Well, at this point, I've forgotten both of the thoughts. And so I think the moral of everything we're trying to get here is, don't hire me to be the photographer at your wedding. I think that's what we were getting at.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do this. How about rapid fire? I'm going to ask you a question and you just have to answer it quickly. Okay. Ugh. How many other weddings will you photograph on the weekend of their wedding?
Usually one. I used to do
How many other weddings will you photograph?
Yeah.
0.
Oh, 0.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're off to a rough start on the speed round here.
In my mind, I just thought one per weekend.
You're shooting their wedding. Will you be shooting any others?
No, not typically.
That's it. Rapid fire.
Oh, sorry.
How long have you been shooting weddings?
6 years. Well, 8 years with you. Shooting video.
Rapid fire. Have you ever worked with our planner, videographer, florist, DJ? That's going to be a difficult one to do in rapid fire round because this is a fake wedding. Do you offer a photo booth?
No.
Can we order prints or albums directly from you?
Yes.
Will we have the rights to the images?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Will the images be accessible online and for how long?
Yes. Forever.
Whoa.
Well.
Indefinitely.
Yeah.
Do you carry backup equipment?
Yes.
How will you and your assistants be dressed?
Ooh. Like
to the
we
nines.
We are guests.
Like your
no,
guests?
I dress nice and comfortably.
Right.
I like to blend.
Do you dress for the wedding? For example, will your attire look different if you are in a ballroom or if you are on the beach? Or are you basically going to wear similar things?
Well, yeah, because I think it depends on if you're hiking. I'm going to be a little more practical than if it were a downtown wedding.
Okay, cool.
But I'm probably, no matter what, I'm going to wear comfortable shoes.
How about this one? Will you be submitting our photos to magazines or blogs?
Ooh, probably not. That takes so much time.
I think we covered that in our last or one of our other podcasts.
I'm all for it if like the couple wants to do that or another vendor or something, but that just takes so much time. I don't typically do that.
How about this? Will you be the one shooting my wedding?
Yes.
Well, there you have it. All right. Well, I don't know how speedy that was, but that was our speed round. And I think we've definitely covered the questions.
I feel like this was very lopsided, though. Do I need to be giving you rapid fire questions?
Well, maybe that'll be a future episode where you can ask me and I can answer the questions. But yeah. I think I answered. I chimed in on the important ones. So if you have other questions, you can reach out to us, and we'd be happy to answer your questions on any format that you prefer.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's week 9 or 10 of quarantine. I have been working pretty hard on my summer body. This year, my summer body is going to be overweight. Yeah. That's what I'm going for. And I've been working hard on it. Mm-hmm. So I feel pretty good about where I'm at.
Well, I'm the only one you need to impress. So you've already got me.
Are you impressed?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got you, but are you impressed?
I am impressed by you.
Okay. Thank you for watching and tuning in. We'll see you next time on the dining room table.